Well, you might have to wait up to 20 weeks to get your stimulus checks, and Congress just passed the second stimulus for businesses. Plus, what's going on with that new $2,000 a month proposal where Congress would send you $2,000 per month for 6 months minimum? We'll get to all of that. It's time for your stimulus checks update for this Friday. Now, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is devoted to helping you make money, and it's also aimed at helping you build financial intelligence. You'll learn things on my channel that will probably set you apart from everyone else, and you're going to learn things that you were never taught in high school. I promise you. So please subscribe and drop me a comment below to let me know that you are new here or you've been here for a while. I try to respond to every comment that I can, so thank you so much. More than 80 million people have already received direct deposits. That's at this hour right now, worth up to $1,200 as part of the government's $2.2 trillion stimulus package designed to blunt the impact of the pandemic, which of course is ravaging the United States economy right now. The first wave of checks were sent to people who had already provided the IRS with direct deposit information in their 2018 or their 2019 tax returns. So those have already gone out. Now the next round of funding will go out next week on a weekly basis to people who recently provided their information to the IRS and have not been paid already. This is according to a new timeline from the House Ways and Means Committee. But the 100 million Americans who haven't recently filed returns, including pensioners, retirees, and veterans, could have to wait up to 5 months to see a paper check. That's what the IRS is telling us this morning. Now, according to the committee memo, the IRS began sending physical checks this week to people who have an address on file. That's good news. Now, these will be issued at a rate of about 5 million paper checks per week, and it will start with those lowest incomes and could take up to 20 weeks to complete, the memo says. That meaning that some taxpayers won't receive the money until September. Now, I've done a full video on that. Here's a card up here to check that other video where we show you exactly when you'll get paid. But the 100 million Americans who haven't recently filed returns, including pensioners, retirees, and veterans, could wait up to 5 months to see a paper check. That's what the IRS is estimating. 5 months. All right, now let's talk about this $2,000 a month plan from Congress. There are currently several proposals floating around Washington right now from various lawmakers that would provide Americans with ongoing financial support. And they're pretty close to, with a few little tweaks here and there. Now you can add this one. It's called the Automatic Boost to Communities Act, ABC, which was introduced by Congresswomen Rashida Tlaib of Michigan and Pramila Jayapal from Washington State. If approved, the ABC Act would provide every American with one of those Boost debit cards that's preloaded with $2,000. The card would then be reloaded with $1,000 each month until 1 year after the end of this crisis. The bill calls for the use of these prepaid debit cards to assist those who are unbanked or do not have access to check cashing services, which is millions of Americans. So who would be eligible for this $2,000 stimulus payment and $1,000 recurring payment? Well, the goal of this bill is to guarantee that no one is left behind. So they wrote this bill. It would provide this $2,000 prepaid debit cards to everyone, including, pay attention to this, taxpayers, dependents, non-citizens, individuals who do not have a bank account, social security number, or a permanent address, people living in unincorporated territories or protectorates, and Americans living abroad. So let's break this down. So for dependents, the proposal gives an example of a family with 4 dependents being eligible to receive a prepaid debit card for each taxpayer and each dependent. For example, a couple with 2 children would receive 4 debit cards at $2,000 each for a total of $8,000. Non-citizens, this would include permanent residents, undocumented individuals, and temporary visitors whose stay exceeds 3 months. These prepaid debit cards would be reloaded with $1,000 each month until 1 year after the coronavirus emergency ends. This sounds like a huge amount of money. The other plan we reported on this week would give you $2,000 for 6 months or until the employment rate returns to pre-COVID-19 levels. Now, I don't see that passing Congress. That's a ridiculous amount of money, and I have no idea how the government plans to pay for it. I mean, right now, they're printing money like crazy. We're going to see inflation going through the roof. If you're invested in the US dollar, run for the hills, get out. The other big story we're following is this second stimulus for small businesses. Now, the House overnight passed $400 $480 billion funding aimed at helping small businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. So today it's heading to Trump's desk where he's expected to sign it. Now, the bulk of this bill has been dedicated to replenishing funds for the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a critical new program that provides small businesses with forgivable loans to cover payroll costs. And they don't have to pay taxes on it, by the way. Now, lawmakers originally put that $350 billion in there back in March. Those funds were not enough because it was gone within like a few days. So 1.7 million businesses filed to get some of this money. So far, these businesses have received funding. A lot of them have from PPP, according to the Small Business Administration. They're saying 1.6 have already received it. Now, hundreds of thousands are still waiting to hear on their application status after money for the program ran out last week. Millions of dollars have also gone to large corporations because of that loophole in the original bill, which we reported on yesterday. Now, the House's passage of another spending package gives us $310 billion into PPP, another $10 billion to cover administrative costs. There's another $60 billion in there for economic injury disaster loans program, and which would cover forgivable grants for small businesses. And the remainder of what lawmakers are calling an interim spending bill contains $75 billion for hospitals to cover growing revenue shortfalls and another $25 billion for coronavirus testing. That's great news. But the final version of this legislation does not address this loophole that we've been talking about, which had all these publicly traded companies snapping up a large amount of the relief funds. So that's missing. It's also missing several key Democratic priorities, such as more funding for states and cities, as well as additional money for the SNAP benefit program for food stamps. That's also not included in this. But the fact that they didn't address this big loophole is a big deal. I mean, let's talk about this loophole. We heard that Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, we heard that Shake Shack gave back $10 million that they had accepted as part of the PPP program. Look, these are publicly traded companies making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. But because they get to sort of say that they're small businesses, that each location is under 500 employees, even though their main corporation is massive, and they're publicly traded on the stock market, that's ridiculous. So there's been outcries and boycotts on all of these companies right now. Ruth's Chris, Shake Shack, and others. I asked you to drop me a comment below to let me know if you plan on boycotting any of these companies, because there's a list of them that took a lot of money that could have gone to help these small businesses that like have 5 employees that really need this money. So let me know what you think about that. Now let's talk about helping you make some money working from home. I help people build businesses and I help them create cash flow working from home. Now I've put together a video that's going to help you start to make money while being at home. It's a step-by-step video where you can start bringing in thousands of dollars a month. If you have time to watch this video, you have time to watch this next video. So click the card right here above, click that. And we'll also have a link to that video in the description below so you can start making something happen in your life, making great money, and click that video to learn how to do it. I will teach you step by step my ways of making money from home. And we'll see you next time, everyone.